Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking our first look at Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, which was released in late 2008 on the Namco System 357 arcade hardware. First thing we'll take a quick look at here, because it's easiest to do it this way because I already got the camera on the tripod, is the test menu. Nothing too exciting here. I believe the software update option that's grayed out on the top would just be if they were introducing updates to the game, but I believe this version, which is like revision 2, version A67, was the last version of this game. So like you have your display test, your sound test, you can see your JVS test, will just show you what IO boards are connected and everything. Input test, of course, you can see that all our directions are working, start, all 4 buttons. And then that would be the tag button, but it's not used here. And then of course player button 1 and 2 gets out of that. Card RW is not enabled right now because I have the card readers and I actually have gotten them to work, but I actually just ordered some data cards today, so that'll be in a future video. Now our game options, I turned the difficulty level down to medium because even at medium I find it really hard, especially at the later levels. And then of course the tracked movie is turned off because that's just that CG movie that you saw in the intro video that plays every time it goes through its demo mode, which it's cool the first couple times, but after a while you just don't want to see it anymore. And now coin options, of course I have this set to free play, and that's really just about it for the test mode. Of course, like usual, I have my Neo Geo controller, so I have left punch, left kick, right kick, the directions. If this were tag or tag 2, I'd have select set to the tag button, which is actually how it's configured right now. So if I wanted to take the 369 for a run, I could just do that. Now I'm going to zoom out and then I'll take a look at the system here and just give you a brief overview on how everything is hooked up here. So we're going to just come over here. You'll see here's the Namco System 357. This is the 357A unit that's based off of the original PlayStation 3 model, which mine's actually sitting over there by the tank and Godzilla. But you're not going to be able to read this, but there's the security dongle. You'll see that little white plug down there where the light's flashing. That provides the Namco board the proper 5 volts and ground it needs. Next to that is the JVS IO board, which is actually the same one that my Naomi uses, which is the JVS Tajama from Sega, and it just uses that little arcade power supply. There's a Namco System 12 board and a power supply and a video converter there, but they're not being used. And then of course we just do our VGA right and left audio into the video converter that lets it display on the TV. For some reason, if I plug it directly into the HDMI, it's like it's just a little too dark to actually play. But yeah, if you don't have that 5 volts and ground into the Namco board, this thing won't even boot. But that's basically how I've hooked up. The only difference when I have the card readers hooked up, if you see this port here, that's where the card reader hooks up, and then the 12 gets connected, plus 12 gets connected to the power supply and the ground. And then that's the only difference. But since those are Magneton cards, and I mean, those are RFID cards, and all of my stuff has been Magneton cards, I need to get some Tekken 6 cards in order to do that. But enough of me blabbing on about how everything's hooked up. Let's get into the game and take a look at some Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion. So I'm just going to press the button on the controller here and get out of the test menu. And what's going to basically happen here is it's going to go through its boot sequence again, because it has to do that after you go into the test mode. So it goes back to the no signal, because that's the thing from the video converter. If you heard that very slight sound, that was just the board initializing the PlayStation 3. See, there it goes, it says Tekken 6 BR. Basically, it's just a crossbar interface, and it launches the game. That's all it's set up to do. there's no Blu-ray drive, it just boots off of a 3.5-inch SATA hard drive that's inside the system. And then, of course, eventually what's going to happen here is the system will just boot up, and you'll have your guy say good morning and everything, and then we'll... Good morning. There you go. And then we'll be able to get right into the game. So let's take a look at some Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion and see what this game looks like in our first look at the game. Okay, and as you can see, here's the title screen, and we're going to quickly get into our large character select screen, which there is a lot of characters in this game. So if you've never played Tekken 6 or on either the console or in the arcade, you have a lot of characters to choose from. As you can see, I'm kind of slowly going through them here. If you want, you can kind of slow this down and see each of the different characters. But our big characters for this version are Lars and Alyssa. Those are the two added characters for Bloodline Rebellion. Yoshimitsu. And just because he's my best character, I'm going to be doing Yoshimitsu as my first gameplay here. Okay, and in case you didn't know, as I had mentioned in the beginning there, Tekken 6 runs on the Namco System 357 arcade hardware, which is based off of the Sony PlayStation 3. And the board that I'm running it on is the A board that's based off of the original system. So when I actually had to repair this thing, it was a legit PlayStation 3 first-gen board. And yeah, I just had to reflow the solder on the board, and hopefully it works for a good while. But the original version of Tekken 7 came out on November 26th of 2007, with Tekken 7 Bloodline Rebellion coming out December 18th of 2008. Then, of course, it wouldn't be until October of 2009, October 27th in North America, 29th in Japan, and 30th in Europe for the console versions on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Then in Australia, you didn't have your game until November 5th of 2009. And then, of course, for some reason, they took Tekken 6 and downgraded it and ported it over to the PlayStation Portable for a November 4th, December 11th, and December 17th release in North America, Europe, and Australia, and then all the way on January 14th of 2010 in Japan. And now, one thing I definitely have to say, after having enough playtime with this game, it definitely has some great graphics and some excellent music. This game sounds and plays and looks great. And now, if you had heard me mention it earlier, I actually got the card readers working, and literally I got them working today, which, if you're watching this far in the future, today is May 8th of 2019. I'm sorry, May 8th of 2020. See, I'm living in last year already. But the only difference with having the card readers hooked up is, if you remember my Tekken 3, my Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection video, there were those little P1 and P2 things in the corner. And that's the only real difference if the card readers are active while the game is being played. And now I'm guessing this Nemesis guy is somebody who, maybe it was somebody who actually played the game, because I couldn't see this being something that Namco put in there, because it looks like somebody's created character. Although it looks like he only had about a 50% win-loss, because it's about 58%, but it's like Paul Phoenix, but he's always really hard, and he's always on stage 3. So I always know if I get past stage 3 and there's no Paul Phoenix, I won't have to face this guy. And so far in playing this game, this is the only character like that I've actually come across. So my only guess is it's saved to the hard drive. Because I heard somebody say that when you use your card, your ghost will actually show up in the machine. So that's probably what this Nemesis guy is. It's some player's ghost that you actually have to fight against. Which, once I get my my Tekken 6 cards and I can do that, we'll actually be testing that, because I'll build a character, and if the ghost of that character shows up in arcade mode, that'd be really cool. There were so many gameplays I've played where, like, this guy would show up and I'd get beaten by him terribly bad, especially if it's a character that maybe I'm not so good at playing. And now, a little bit of a brief story of how this whole Tekken 6 thing came to fruition. The board that this is actually running on, I had actually bought maybe a couple years back. It wasn't expensive at all, but it said right in the description that the board doesn't work. And I could see from the picture there was no security dongle, so all that was included with the board that I am using right now was just the hard drive. And upon booting it up, it just does the classic beep 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 and shuts off, just like any yellow lighted death PlayStation 3. So that was actually in my house and literally sitting in the attic for like a few years now. Fast forward a few years here to early 2020, and a guy posted a Tekken 6 board, which was Bloodline Rebellion online. And at first I was thinking it was actually for the cabinet, but he has right in the description, it's only for the board and whatever else you want. And like, he had the whole picture of everything that was there. In fact, if I'm able to pull it in another video, I might even show it on the screen, but not in this one, maybe next time. But as I was saying, I just asked him that I could buy the board, the whole wiring harness, and then a couple of Namco daughter boards that I thought might be necessary in order to get this up and running. Which, it's good to have them, but the good part is I can tell you, none of the Namco boards that go outside the unit are necessary at all. Although the one with the USB connection would be the replacement for my Sega I.O., but the simple fact is, I'm so used to using this, and of course, before having this hooked up, I actually still had it hooked up for Tekken, so once I got everything up and running and I plugged it in, sure enough, I was good to go. But as I said, I had asked him for the board, the wiring harness, which means all the control wires, all the power wires, none of the power supplies, as honestly all they were your classic screw-type power supplies, and I was thinking, I have a bunch of those already, I really don't need any others, plus all it would do is add to shipping. And the card readers, and any of the art, like, I got the marquee, I got the two, like, things that'd be on the sides of the monitors with all the character moves. Of course, as I said, I got the card readers. The only unfortunate part is no cards, but the most important part, of course, is I got the security dongle. So, my first attempt was to reflow that board. I tried that a couple times, it's still doing the same thing. Even though it was the 357B board, I might revisit that someday. But if I ever showed it in one of my videos, the actual metal is all rusted, so either it was used a lot, or maybe the board could have even suffered some water damage. So what I actually ended up doing was, I got the board out of the attic, I did the reflow on it, thinking to myself, oh, there's no way that this is gonna work. And sure enough, as you can see from what you're watching right now, that board actually did work, and all I had to do was, after I did the reflow, I had bought a Black & Decker heat gun for like $20 off of Amazon. I had to get some new Arctic Silver 5 because I was all out, and then I rethermaled the heatsink, put it all back together, took the old hard drive out because I believe this board actually was running Bloodline Rebellion, the first revision, and the dongle and hard drive that this board came with was Bloodline Rebellion, the second revision, and that version 67 that you saw on the title screen. So I just swapped that over. And when I first plugged it in, I had something hooked up wrong on my I/O and I couldn't get it working, so I actually grabbed the control panel and the Sega JVS Type 1 I/O and plugged that in and I got it working. Then I realized what I had wrong and I plugged back in my old Sega Jama to JVS I/O and I got that working, and yeah, the rest is history. And now, no matter how many gameplays I've done, I've never defeated this, like, Nancy robot. So, I've seen some people, like, they turn the difficulty all down and then they just, like, keep doing one move and no matter what happens, they can't lose. But I've tried in some of my gameplays my best to actually beat it. And I've gotten it down pretty far. I actually got it down to maybe, like, a fourth of its life. But it always ends up beating me before I end up beating it.
Get ready for the next battle.
But now here's the first of the two, like, battles that happen every time, well, other than Nancy. So I'll let you see this little story segment.
Round one.
And as you can see, it wasn't really much of a story segment. It's just that you see Jin, and you see when we started this match, it was only like 7 minutes, so I only was losing to Jin for maybe like a minute or so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, with everything that happened, I was glad to finally have a working Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion board. Now, I've had two schools of thoughts that I've heard from people when it comes to reflowing a PlayStation 3 board. Some people will tell you it'll keep working for like a week or two. I've also heard some people tell me that they've had theirs work for over 2 years without a problem. But my hopes here is that this will keep working for a while, and of course, the thing that doesn't hurt is that the Namco System 357 actually has two fans, one in the back and one on the top, as opposed to the original PlayStation 3 that only has one big fan. But I was surprised that it didn't take me too much to beat Jin here, because I thought it was going to be a lot harder. Because in my first gameplay, before I even had the capture software hooked up, I think it took me a lot longer, and my actual resulting time in that gameplay was like 30-some minutes. But of course, since this gameplay beat it, that score is all gone after this. But yeah, suffice it to say, it was a long road to get from the old 357A board in the attic to what you see today. And as I said, this will be one of the many Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion videos.
You win. Get ready for the next battle.
And then, of course, this is the final boss every time, which... this boss is one of those bosses, and you can see that we've gone from, like, 7 or 8 minutes to 12 minutes, which isn't terrible because, I've had, some gameplays where it literally took me tons of time, and I found a weird problem with, this boss. I don't know if it's a glitch in the code or something, but sometimes if you continuously do like one upward attack, he can't really combat it. In fact, if I can find it on one of my gameplays, there's actually a time when I keep doing that and he doesn't hit me, and I actually got a perfect.
You win.
But the weird part is it doesn't always seem to work, because there's sometimes where like I tried that like quote-unquote strategy where I kept like doing the upward attack and he would actually get me. But yeah, I already at this point I've recorded some gameplays of some of the other characters, which I may use one or two of them, or I may re-record them, but we'll see. So you will definitely be seeing my general aim here is to have a gameplay of Yoshimitsu and then all of the new characters for Tekken 6, but it all depends on how everything goes. But as I said, I was really looking forward to finally playing this game, because it was, other than Tekken 7, but who knows, if you're watching this like 5 or 10 years in the future, I probably have a Tekken 7, and Tekken 8 or 9 is already out. But other than Tekken 7, it was the only arcade version of Tekken I didn't have a arcade hardware for. So I was finally happy to finally able to play the original version of this. And I don't know if this is true, but somebody actually told me that the way Tekken 6 got ported is they ported it to Xbox 360, which required some decent downgrades. And then they ported that Xbox 360 version to PlayStation 3 instead of just porting what you see here directly over to the PlayStation 3, which, as you would imagine, caused a decent downgrade to the actual graphics. And the best way to think of Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is all the movesets and everything from this game, well, at least the characters that are in this game, are pretty faithfully recreated in Tekken Tag 2. And of course, there are a few characters who came back who were not in Tekken 6 here. So that was a cool part about that. But yeah, Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion is an excellent game. It's even a pretty fun game to play on your home consoles. The only thing I always thought was weird in the console version is, like, especially in the scenario campaign, when like a character who speaks English and a character who speaks Japanese are just talking to each other, the Japanese character is subtitled for you, but I always think to myself, what is this, like Star Trek? Do they have the universal translator? How are these two characters talking to each other in their own language and understanding? It's just one of those things I thought was kind of silly in the scenario campaign, but it was still a pretty fun mode in that game, and it fleshed out the single player a bit and had these beat 'em up segments, which I may show some of that in a later video at some point from the console version. But yeah, as you're gonna see here, here comes my my high score, because any character I beat this with, unless I beat it with them before, I'll get a high score, because since this board probably had a dead battery the whole time it was sitting in my attic, the high scores had long gone away. And since the only other gameplay I had done before what you saw right now was beating it with Yoshimitsu, and all I did was beat that score, that's why there was no other scores. Because if you look at the system right now, I think I have at least 4 or 5 high scores, and I'm sure I'll have more as time goes on. But yeah, Tekken 6 and Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, excellent game. I know I say this every time, but until you really play a game a lot, you really don't appreciate it nearly as much. Like, the graphics, a lot of the music is so great in this game. Like, having to repeatedly play it to get some of these gameplays, I've just heard so much great music. The rain effects and the graphics, everything just looks top-notch in this one. Well, this has been the first Game Nexus arcade video for Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, and I will see you later. Bye.